Hey guys, Freddy here. Welcome back to another rules breakdown. And this time I'm going to be having a look at Bunnies and Burrows, which came out in 1976 from Fantasy Games Unlimited. And it's a role-playing game of intelligent rabbits. It's basically Watership Down, the role-playing game, where you get to play a rabbit in the world of humans. You know, larger creatures are out to get you, but you're smart and you're quick. Now, this is an old school role playing game, so the rules are heavily based onto charts and tables where you have to look things up. But the core mechanic itself is very simple. It's just a percentile based system. But getting to that percentage number can be a bit tricky. So let's have a look at the rules. Now, skills are percentage based, but this is an old school game. So you're going to have to look up lots of charts and things here. But basically, each skill that you can do comes under an attribute, a characteristic as they call them in Bunnies and Burrows, but is also affected by your profession. So we can see strength is fighting and jumping, speed is dodging, evasion, swimming, smell is recognize herbs, tracking, and so on and so forth. But the professions are linked to those attributes as well: fighters, runners, herbalists, scouts, seers, mavericks, empaths, and storytellers. So to use an example, let's flick on to page 18. Yeah, cheating and stealing. So pickpocketing, stealing off other characters, but also gambling. So stealing without being detected is always handy. The probability of success depends on dexterity level. So a character with a dexterity of 0, so a starting character, has a probability of success of 0 at these things. However, mavericks who have declared that dexterity is their attribute get a bonus of 20%. So they have a 20% chance. But let's take for the example that we've got dexterity of 5 and we're not. So we have a standard 50% on this. And we're just rolling percentile dice against it to see if we succeed. And we have rolled 96, so we have failed. And it's as simple as that. We need to look it up. But if we flick over the page, we've got climbing. Now this isn't a percentile based one. Basically, you can automatically climb depending on how high it is in your dexterity level. So dexterity levels 0, you can climb walls or barriers 4 feet in height. Once you get up to a 20 dexterity, you can climb one 50 feet in height. And there's no roll involved. It's just a matter of that. Mavericks climb as they were 3 dexterity above their actual level. So a level 0 maverick gets to climb 6 feet. Carrying on, a couple more pages. We've got the mating table, which is quite bizarre to me. We've got the player's charisma going against the target's charisma. So a 0 level player character gets to attract a 3 to 4 charisma rabbit, 60% chance. And it goes down as the player's charisma goes up because they can't attract uggos. But it goes up, and the chances of attracting higher level percentages goes up according to the player's charisma level. So if you've got a 5 charisma, you've got a 90% chance of attracting somebody with 17 or 18. Now, why that works, I don't really know, because the higher charisma of somebody you're trying to attract, it seems to get easier, even though when you've got a really low charisma, you don't have a chance. Why, when your charisma is absolutely massive, do you have a less chance of attracting a 17 or 18? Don't know, but that's how it works. There's a few of the skills which work this way, where you've got a chart putting the character level against the target level, and it gives you a percentage to roll your dice against. And on page 6, it kind of deals with initiative. Now, initiative is normally everybody goes all at once. So even if you kill your opponent, they still get to make their roll back because their attack's happening simultaneously with yours. Except if you get the jump on someone. Now, this is normally when you ambush somebody, when they don't know your attack is coming. Except, once again, if you have chosen a runner. So the class which is specializing in speed, because they have the advantage as declaring as a runner, automatically gains a jump in melee. Exceptions: when surprised, when in shock, when faced by another runner with a higher speed level. This allows you to get in the first blow or to get running away quickly. So you can escape from combat, or you can get that blow in and hopefully take down your opponent or pin them or whatever before they get to make an attack against you. And so combat. Now this is where things become a little bit complex, but at the end of the day it's coming down to a percentage roll. It's a little bit complex how we get there, because we can get bonuses to that roll from all sorts of places. And you would have to read through all the classes, and it depends who's fighting who. But we're going to go for the very basics of the rules here. So first of all, we're choosing what fighting mode each rabbit is using. So we have on page 8 the fighting modes: bite and hold, bite and release, butt, claw, pin, kick, rip, cuff, dodge and run. Now each of these has different types of damage at the end of the day, and they each have a bonus. Now I'm going to choose bite and release for both the rabbits involved in this fight, because they have a critical hit option, so we'll be able to demonstrate how that works. But they get other things, so if you're trying to run, then all damage received is reduced by 1/2. If you're doing a bite and hold, you've got a chance to do a rip attack as well, so you'll be doing more damage, and so on and so forth. Now, we've chosen those. We're now comparing the strength level to the defense class of the target. Now, we're going to be doing basic 0 level characters, starting off ones, so they've got strength of 0, they've got defense of 0. Your defense class is worked out by halving your speed and rounding down. So defense class will always tend to be lower than strength anyway, because if you've got a 10 in each of those, your defense class is still only working out as 5. But of course, all the different classes, the professions, change all this. So fighters get a bonus of 1 to their defense class. But let's ignore all that. As I said, we're going for the basics. So it's a 0 strength rabbit going a 0 speed rabbit. It's 30% chance of hitting. But now we look at the contribution to hit by fighting mode on the same page. Now, different types of fighting modes have different percentage chance of hitting. But if we're doing bite and release, both of them, then it's a 39%. So we've got 30% plus 39%, we've got 69% chance. Ignoring all the, as I said, all the other bonuses from other places. Because if we go back to strength, if the strength is up in 15-18, you get a +5 to biting or clawing attacks, etc. You get bonuses from all over the place, and every case will be different. It's impossible to cover all of these. But at the basic level, we've got 69% chance of hitting. So we roll it, and we have rolled at 72. So it's a miss. But we'll carry on this as if it was a hit, because it doesn't actually matter what you've rolled on this. It's just a clear hit or miss. Now, damage is based on what kind of fighting mode you were using. So we were doing bite and release. It's 1 dice, so a d6. So I'll clear that, dice, throw. And we've done 6 points of damage. But if we carry on back, we can see that strength rules. For every 5 levels increase in strength, the damage that a rabbit inflicts with a successful blow is increased by a factor of 1. So if you've got a strength of 5 to 10, if you've got a strength of higher than that, you're going to be increasing the damage by points. And declaring as a fighter, so strength is your favoured characteristic, you receive a bonus of 1 point of damage for each successful hit. So the longer a fight goes on, a fighter does more and more damage, getting a larger bonus. Now, beyond that, because we're doing a bite and release, we've got a chance of a critical hit option. So we're rolling a 1d10. Now, if we roll a 0, which we haven't, we've rolled a 1, we would then roll on the critical hit table. Now, these can be advantageous and disadvantageous. So let's say we'd rolled a 10 there. Let's roll again. And we get a 3. So we hit the left foreleg, and the opponent gets a -2 in their strength level. So you weaken your opponent. But we can get things like, if you get the throat, if we'd rolled a 2, it would have been triple damage. So that 6 would have been increased up to 18 points of damage. Thorax and abdomen are double damage, but a 9 is a simple miss. So you've rolled a critical hit, but that has become a miss. And a 10 is not only a miss, but the opponent pulls you off balance and pins you to the ground. So critical hits can become critical failures as well. You rolling that 0 because you've been trying for a critical hit can be a bad thing. But anyway, we've done 6 points of damage, but what does that mean? Well, health is dealt with hit points. And hit points are going to be kind of low at a starting level. Because here on page 5, total hit points tell how many points of damage you may receive in a fight from a trap or disease before you have been killed. The more points, the more damage you can take. Calculate total hit points by taking the sum of strength level and constitution level and adding 4 to that sum. Well, a starting character is going to have 0 in both of those, so it has 4 hit points. So that 6 damage has killed them. And that's it. That rabbit is dead with 1 hit. And that's how fragile rabbit life is. Now, obviously, as you get higher, so if you've got a strength of 10, a constitution of 8, you're going to have 22 hit points. Plus, if you're a fighter, you're getting bonuses. So for every 5 points, you get a bonus of 1 onto the total of hit points. As well as you can heal things later on. Empathic healing is a thing where an empath character can take points of damage off others to take upon themselves, and you've got healing herbs. But life is going to be swift and violent and deadly if you get into combat in Bunnies and Burrows. So, advancement, well, that's dealt with here on page 34. And it includes one of the oddities of Bunnies and Burrows. That when you're creating your character, you roll 3d6, like in Dungeons and Dragons, for each of your attributes. And you record that amount, but that is your innate ability of that attribute. You don't actually use that in play, because when your character starts off, they have 0 in each attribute. The only time you use that innate ability is when you come to rolling for advancement. Now, you get rolls for advancement based on when you have tested those attributes. So, if you've been in a fight and you've made combat rolls, well, that would be a test of strength, because strength is the combat skill, or combat attribute. If you are attempting to climb a wall, that might be dexterity or speed. If you have been reduced to half hit points, that's a constitution one. If you've been poisoned, that's a constitution one. However you've tested these attributes, you get a roll on that. Now, you can make that during play, but the rules recommend not halting play to make these rolls for advancement. The GameMaster keeps record of them and allows people to make a roll at the end of the session. So, you've tested your strength a few times, you've been in a couple of fights and things, so you've got 3 rolls. Now, let's say it's a fighter character and you rolled your 3d6, you've got 4s on it, so you've got 12 for your innate strength. So we're going to be making 3 rolls against innate strength of 12, which is a 14% chance. However, because he's a fighter, strength is his attribute, so he gains a 5% bonus, as do the other classes depending on their chosen attribute. So runners get their speed, etc. So he has 14% plus 5, 19. So we're rolling a 1d100 3 times against 19. So we roll. We get 51, a fail. We roll. We get 93, a fail. We roll. And we get 100, so a fail. Unless we count that as a double zero, it's a 0. But whichever way you count it, I would say that's 3 fails. And he doesn't get any advancement on that. If he'd rolled lucky, he might have increased his strength from 0 up to 3 in one session. And it's very much based on luck. It's entirely possible that a lucky player might increase a bunch of attributes very quickly, whereas an unlucky player might go through a number of adventures before they get off the ground and start increasing anything. But that's how advancement works. It's based on the percentage, based on your innate ability and your character class, and all the opportunities when you've tested that attribute. So you get to make lots of rolls against different attributes as long as you're being active part of the adventure. So that is Bunnies and Burrows. While there's a lot of charts and tables, and it shows that it's a game of the 70s, because that's how games were back then. There were lots of tables to look up on things, and that's something I don't like. I much prefer a game which is just down to some dice rolls. One of my favourite games is the Star Wars D6 system, because I know we're just rolling dice and we're comparing them against some very standardised target numbers. But this, everything you do, you're having different tables to look up. Combat has multiple tables to look up, which I think would slow things down. But the thing I do like about this game, and very much adore, is the combat. This is not Dungeons and Dragons. You're not fighting lots and lots of monsters. As we saw, that first combat round, one rabbit killed the other. And because the actions are simultaneous, we should have rolled up for the return part of that combat. The victim, the rabbit who died, did get to make simultaneously an attack against the first rabbit. And with damage being an average of 3.5 on a d6, so averaging of 4, and the characters having 4 hit points, there's a good chance that that counter-attack would have killed the first rabbit, and both rabbits would have died in their very first fight. It's a game where you don't want to be going out and fighting. You want to be thinking your way through situations. You want to be living on your wits. I think that's absolutely brilliant and so different to the other role-playing games of the time. But anyway, I think I've been muttering on for quite long enough as usual. So thank you very much for watching. But as always, most of all, you look after yourselves, and I'll catch you later. Bye now.